Everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Steve, and in this video, I'm going to help you get started with one of the most powerful automation tools out there, N8N. Whether you're a business owner, developer, or just curious tech enthusiast, N8N lets you connect your favorite apps and automate repetitive tasks. One of the best things about N8N is that it's no code by default, so anyone can use it, but it also gives you the option to add JavaScript and custom code when you want to go further or fine-tune your automations. In this video, we're going to walk through how to get started using the cloud version of N8N, which means no installation and no setup on your computer. Just sign up and start automating in minutes. We'll cover how to create your free account, what the interface looks like, and where to find everything you need to build your first workflow. All right, so let's get started. And once you're on the N8N website, you have buttons up here at the top right. If you haven't signed up for an account yet, you want to click on Get Started. If you have an account already, click on Sign In. In this case, we're going to click on Get Started. Once you fill out the information, go ahead and click on Start your free 14-day trial. The next screen, you'll be presented with a few onboarding questions. Once you go through the onboarding, you'll be presented to ask you about invite team members. You can skip this. Unless you do want to invite others, go ahead. But in this case, we're going to hit Skip. Then you'll be presented with this little video. It kind of gives you a little tutorial, which is what you're watching anyway. So we're going to start automating. So this is where once you have more automations built, there'll be a list, a table here of showing you all the different automations. Okay, so across the top here, since it's a brand new account, everything is going to be 0. But as you run your automations, these will start to change. This time saved, apparently, that is, you'd have to go in and manually put this information in, so don't expect that to change too much unless you do put the information in. The top right here gives you the option to just go ahead and create a workflow. We're not quite there yet. On the left, you got this personal, which this will give you the same kind of table, but this also gives you an option up here at the top right to create folders. So, like for instance, if you want to make a folder called tutorials, you can then make workflows that you're following along on YouTube, for instance, in this tutorial bin. And that way you kind of keep it organized. And then say you want to do one for create folder for production. That way you know all the ones that are actively in and running constantly that are in production go in there, or if you want to do one for development. You can go into each one of these and same deal up at the top right, click on create folder. You can make subfolders. So like say you're following a specific person on YouTube and you want to put all their tutorials in one folder, for example. Up here you got workflow, you got credentials. You can do this as you build, so you don't even necessarily go into here and find what you're looking for in this list, so don't be alarmed by that. But as you add them, like if you add your Google or Slack or Telegram, whatever other programs, then the executions will show you the previous workflow executions, but we haven't done any yet. And share with you, it's a new account, so there's nothing going to be in here. Admin portal. If you click on that, it'll take you over to the management side. So like your billing information, and this is where you can go to upgrade your plan. As you can see, you got 14 days to start out. To get back to the other screen, you just click on Open Instance, and it'll take you back to here. But for now, let's go ahead and create our first workflow. And now that we're on the Canvas screen, I just want to show you around before we get started. At the top left, you got the personal. If you put it into a folder, your folder name is going to pop up here. And then here is where you can actually rename the workflow so it actually makes sense to you. We want to delete that. And in this example, I'm just going to show you how to send an email at 8 a.m. So we're going to put 8 a.m. email. You can add a tag, which will help you with organizing, but I don't usually bother with that now that we have the folder capability. At the top here, we have the editor, which is what you see here. Executions will show you a list of the previous executions, and then evaluations is like an AI thing I'm not going to get into on this video. This inactive, this will, if you actually want to run this automatically, you would switch this over and it would show active. But right now, since I don't have any nodes, I can't do it anyway. If I want to share the workflow with someone, I would click on that. And then saved, whenever you actually make changes, that will change to a save button. If you do make changes to it and you want to go back to a previous version of the workflow, like if you accidentally delete something or added something and you want to go back, whatever, you can click on that and it will give you the chance to go back to a previous save. And up here at the top, we got the buttons. The 3 dots will give you additional options for the workflow. So the first one is to duplicate. So if you want to make a backup of this, for instance, I highly recommend that. If you have a working one, you just want to change it, mess around, make a duplicate first. So when you click on download, it'll actually download a text file in what is called a JSON format, which is JavaScript Object Notation. It's a very common and recognized format for anything that we do on the web. And when I change the owner here, it's not really going to do much for just your personal account, so don't worry about that. If you want to rename it, you can click here, or you can do it where I showed you earlier. If you want to import from URL, that will allow you to put in a URL website, and as long as it has the JSON file there, you can do that. Or import from file, you can actually import it from someone else. Like if I provide the workflow for future videos, you can download it and import it here. If you click on settings, it will give you some additional settings for like the general accounts. I'm not going to get into that in this video, but I will in future. Here we have the plus, which if we click on that, it will give you the nodes. If you also hit the tab button on your keyboard, that'll pop that up as well. And if you notice over here, you got this little add sticky note. If you click on that, you can then put a sticky note. So you can actually go in here and modify it. So you can leave yourself notes. Very handy. You can also right click and say add a sticky note and it'll do the same thing. Down at the bottom right, you got the AI assistant, which you can ask it for help to help build a workflow, or if it's not doing what you expected, you can kind of explain it and it'll reference what you have plus the forums for N8N. Down here at the bottom left, you have the navigation buttons. So if you want to zoom to fit, you click on that. It will recenter everything for you. You got the minus and plus to zoom in and out. And you also have this cleanup or tidy up. So like if you have your nodes all in weird arrangements, you can click on that and it'll straighten everything out. To move around the canvas, you can either press and hold the middle mouse button on your mouse and your mouse or cursor will turn into a little hand. Or if you see as you come down here, you can actually click with your left mouse button and move that around as well. And that's pretty much the gist of the basic user interface here. Let's go ahead and get started. So as you can see, you only have the option to add a first step. So click on the plus or hit tab. And then the first node always has to be a trigger node, which is what will set this automation off so it actually does what you want it to do. As you can see, there's a bunch of different triggers. In this case, we're just going to do on a schedule since I want to send an email at 8 a.m. So click on add a schedule. When you click on a node, you'll then get the node information. At the top where it says schedule trigger, you can actually click on that and put in something that will actually make sense to you. So in this case, we want this to run at 8 a.m. But keep in mind, this title is not dynamic. So if you make changes down here and it's no longer 8 a.m., then you may want to update the title so that at a glance, you know what each node is doing. So if we come down here, each node will always have different options available. So in this case, we're messing with the trigger node. So we have like in seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, and custom. And in this case, we want to do it every day. So we leave at 1, but we want to change the trigger hour to 8 a.m. If you want it to be like 8:30, you can put a 30 in here. And then each node will have this button at the top right. It says execute step. And then we'll then go into this output tab, which gives you what is called right now the JSON. Each one of these buttons gives you a different format or different view of the same information. So schema kind of breaks it into these kind of things. The table is a table and JSON. So It's all the same information, but broken down into different views. So depending on which way you like it, they all show the same thing. At the top right here, we also have a button to pin the data, which is very handy for troubleshooting and for initial testing. You can use that to pin it, so that way you're not constantly making calls to websites and stuff, and the information won't change. But you can also click on this edit button, and you can actually come in and change it. So like say you want try to test something that happens only on Mondays, but today's Friday, so we want to change this to Monday. And then when you hit save, it automatically pins it. And if you look down here, day of the week is now Monday. If I was to unpin this, that day of the week goes back to Friday. So keep it in mind, if you unpin it, any edits you changed or made will be undone. Okay, and then if we want to go back to the canvas, click on back to canvas at the top left. And then anytime you make a change to the node and haven't executed it, you'll see this little alert. And to get rid of that, just execute workflow and it'll clear it. So we now have the trigger. So at 8 a.m., this is going to start. You want to click on the plus to actually get it to do something. You can go digging through, but typically I just do a search for it. So in this case, I'm going to do Gmail. Click on that. And then you get all these different options for Gmail. Don't fret about which choice you make now. This is just kind of like a starter, so you can always change any settings. So in this case, we want to send a message. But like if you accidentally click on reply, it's not that big of a deal. You can change it. So send a message. And then now you'll see it change a little bit from what it was before. So after the first node, this is how it's always going to look. So the left is always going to be the input of the previous nodes in the chain. And the middle is going to be the node you're currently working on. And the right is going to be the output of that node. Over here on the left, you have the option to actually go back to previous nodes in the chain. So if you need to get information from like the first node, but you're on like the 10th, you can actually come in here, hit this drop down and go back and grab information. So keep it in mind, it's very handy. Now to get started with the Gmail, we actually need to set up a credential, which is super easy. Just click on create new credential, and then it's going to ask you to sign in with Google. Click on that. You'll get a pop-up. You want to choose an account. It will then give you this information that if you allow N8N Cloud to access your Gmail data, Google will ask you to review this account to your Google account data every 6 months. So you will need to sign into this again, unless you click on this box and it will just keep it and you won't need to re-authenticate it. So I'm just going to click on that, so it just keeps it. And then select all, so it has all this information it needs. And then continue. Connection successful. This window will close automatically in 5 seconds, which it will do. And then now you see account connected. And then if you ever do have any issues with authentication, you can click on that, sign in to Google, just go through the same process again. But now that that's done, we can click on this X, and now you see Gmail account. Oh, if you want to change this, so like say you want to make this like a personal account or business account, whatever, you can click up here and rename it. So we'll just say personal Gmail and then save. So now you see up here it says personal Gmail. So that way you can keep them differentiated. Makes sense. Okay, so next we got the resource, which is message, operations send. So like say, remember earlier you just had all those different choices. You can always come in here and change it. So not that big of a deal. 2, you would put in whatever email you want us to go to. Typically this would be filled in dynamically, but in this example we don't have that. So I'm just going to put my same email in here. The subject is 8 a.m. reminder. Email type, in this case I'm just going to choose text. And in the message, we can do whatever we want it to actually be in the body of the email. I'm just going to put a simple example here. It is now. And then I want to show you how to dynamically add information to these fields. So over here, I'm going to grab, readable date. Click on that and just drag it over. it'll automatically switch the type from fixed to expression. And if you click on there, up here shows the JavaScript information, but the result, it is now June 27th to 7:42. So up here it looks like the code, but down here is actually what's going to be sent to that email at that time. Now, that information right there will update dynamically as this workflow runs. So in this case, I ran the execution before 8 a.m., so that's why it's showing 7:42. But in the future, when this runs at 8 o'clock, it's going to show 8 o'clock there. So anything in green is filled in from a previous node from dragging that over. And if you see this little button here, it'll allow you to expand it so that way you can actually see more of, fill all this in. So like if you're putting in like an AI prompt or something like that, you have a lot more space to see it as opposed to just that little box. So if you ever see someone expand it like that, that's how they do it. Okay, and then the other thing you want to make sure you do when you're sending an email is go down to add option and append NaN attribution. By default, that will send and will say like sent from NaN. We want to turn that off because it will show that, and some people's spam filters automatically block that. So just for example, I'm going to send it just so you see what it looks like. But if we execute this step, it will actually send an email from my email to my email, in this case, with a text email. It is now in the timestamp. So let's see what it does. And you'll get this information. It will say that was the email ID, the thread ID, and the labels, and sent. So now if we go over to my Gmail, got an 8 a.m. reminder. It is now blah, blah, blah. And this email was sent automatically within 8 a.m. So that is that attribution I was talking about. So if we go in there and turn this off and send it again, get this sent. And you also get the little note successfully. Come back into here. 8 a.m. reminder. And now we no longer have that attribution. So that is what that does. And I highly recommend leaving that off. Okay. So as you saw, that's how you can actually test these without it even being active. If we were to run this again, execute workflow, it's going to grab a new timestamp, send the email. And if I go back to my email again, refresh, it is now 7:50. So see how that these two were using the same information before. So that's why the time is still the same. But the 7:50 was actually whenever I clicked on the button and it's sent. And now if I click on this to activate it, you'll get a workflow activated. Schedule trigger will now trigger the execution on this schedule you have defined. So got it. So now we got an active. So now at 8 a.m., I should get an email and it will show 8 a.m. So I waited until after 8 o'clock to actually show you that when it ran, it actually did come through at 8 o'clock. This also gives me a chance to show you the executions. So if you click on this tab up here, you now get a list of all the times we ran it. And if you notice, you got this stripe pattern here to show you that it's not the traditional canvas. But you can actually click on each one of these and show what it did, what was the output, and what the input was when appropriate, when it ran at that time. So for instance, this time shows the time was 8 o'clock, like it should be, and that's what we actually got in the email. And then you can show it sent. If you go back through here, it gives you the timestamps, all the other ones that we ran, and you can do the same thing. So that's what the execution does. And also, if you ever want to get back to the previous window, like when you first log in, you just need to click on the personal up here on the top left, and it will take you back. And then you can expand this bar on the left by clicking the little arrow, and you can go to overview, and you now can see 8 a.m. email, and you got the active over here, and you got some stats going across the top. Now, since it actually went active and it ran once, we now have execution of 1. It does not count any tests. So like as we were building it, I ran it a couple times, but that doesn't show here because that counted as a test. Which that's a nice thing about N8N, where you don't get penalized for testing things. You only get charged, quote unquote, for when it actually runs automatically in the background. So hopefully you found that helpful. Hopefully it's set you up with a good foundation for N8N, and now you can follow along and actually know what people are doing in tutorials, or if you end up trying this yourself. I know this was a super simple workflow, and it's obviously not something that you would typically do, but I at least thought it was a pretty basic workflow, but it explained a bunch of the things that you'll run into anytime you're working with N8N. If you have any questions, ideas, or automations you'd like to see covered, drop them in the comments. If you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up so more people can discover it, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.